Hello, I'm David Ellenstein, Artistic Director at North Coast Repertory Theater. Thank you for joining us today for Theater Conversations. If you enjoy watching these, please click like, subscribe, and share. It's free to do, and it helps us get more visibility for these videos. Thank you. Hello, thanks for joining us for Theater Conversations today. And it's my pleasure today to be joined by my friend, the multi-talented actor, director, choreographer, person in life, Noelle Marion. Hi, Noelle.
Hi, David.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Is that where you live, where I'm looking?
Where I live for the moment, yes. It's actually in the house I grew up in. This is my childhood bedroom, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh. And where is it? What city?
This is in Moore Park, California, which is about an hour north of Los Angeles. And I am here for COVID purposes.
Okay. So North Coast Rep audience knows you from a bunch of shows, and I'm going to say the ones I remember, and then you're going to fill in the ones I forget.
Okay.
So I believe the first one you did was Last of the Red Hot Lovers.
Correct.
And I'm going to get these out of order, but I know you did Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Out of order.
I know we're out of order. You did How the Other Half Loves, the Alan Ayckbourn play.
Yep.
You did, wait a minute, what am I forgetting? Help.
All in the timing.
All in the timing. Is that it? It says 4?
Yeah, 4.
That's a lot.
And then a fair amount of readings.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also in San Diego, the audiences will know you from a bunch of other stuff because you've worked at a number of the other theaters. You want to just fill us in a little on that?
Yeah, I've worked at, as an actor, I've worked at Moonlight, and I also worked at the Welk. And then as a director, I've worked at the Welk and also San Diego Musical Theater.
Right, and we'll get to your directing in a minute. When you were acting, what did you do up at Moonlight?
Well, actually, the reason why I got involved in North Coast Rep is on account of what I did at the Moonlight, which the first thing I did at Moonlight was Leading Ladies, which was directed by Chris Williams, who ended up directing Last of the Red Hot Lovers. And it's only because we'd worked together in 2012 doing Leading Ladies that led me to North Coast Rep. And then other than that, at Moonlight, I did Inga and Young Frankenstein.
Inga, that's right.
Yeah.
And then what did you do? What other theater did you act at in San Diego? The Welk?
At the Welk, yeah, I did Winter Wonderettes that Bets Malone directed, and I played her role in it, Susie.
Oh my God, what was that like to play a role that the director had played before?
Well, fortunately, she was very encouraging. It's a really fun show to be involved in. For women, tight harmonies. It's silly, it's goofy, it's delightful. And she encouraged us to each find our own version of these characters and to play to our own strengths and individuality. So I guess that I don't know, we were already good friends, Bets and I, before we started that process. I think most of all what I was upset about was that she had chosen the toughest harmony parts because she was capable of it. And I struggle with those tough harmonies, and they were particularly low. So I think if anything, I was more angry at her for giving me such a hard part to learn.
Like you were angry like you are right now.
Very, very angry.
So you're most of the time you live in New York, is that correct?
Well, I guess in the last, I moved to New York 6 years ago, and I guess I can say moved in quotation marks because I've actually worked more in California than prior to moving in New York, but I guess that's just kind of the way things go. But lately, in the past couple years, it's been more bi-coastal between New York and San Diego, actually, which I did not grow up in San Diego, but somehow that's the trajectory that things have taken. So
we attract all the good people here. How did you get into doing theater? What made you go to, was it in your family to start with, or did you just find it?
Well, actually, my parents are both, well, they're retired now, but they were both audiologists and they owned their own practice for a number of years. So, and ear doctors, I always have to, I always have to say that ear doctors. And so no, I was not born into a show business family at all, but my parents both had artistic interests and they really did encourage and foster any creative endeavors that we were interested in. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. My brother is not involved in the arts. He's in sustainable living and water management, but my sister is also involved in the arts. And so my parents were very thrilled to encourage both of us early on in dance and in school choirs and singing lessons, piano, but I was not good and didn't practice, and theater. But I actually, which is surprising to a lot of people, that I was actually very shy when I was young in public. I didn't really talk at all. So I think that the arts really did allow me to come out of my shell a little bit. And
So are you making up for lost time now?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Making up for lost time completely. Now I won't shut up.
And your sister Missy
Yeah,
was also in Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
she was.
Anybody that saw it will remember her as the Tiger Girl, right? Among other things.
Yes, yes.
Right.
It was actually the first time we had ever worked together.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, we had danced together growing up because there's 5 years between us, which a lot of people are actually shocked to hear because we often are mistaken for twins.
Oh, I thought they thought it was 10 years.
Who's older?
Uh-huh.
So we had danced together growing up, but because there were 5 years difference between us, we weren't ever involved in the same dances or the same companies. So getting a chance to work together on a show, that was our very first time. It was so much fun. I'm really close with my sister and we got to share a dressing room together. We carpooled every day to the theater. We lived together. It was a great experience. I would love to do it again.
So you've mentioned all the plays that you've mentioned so far, but I know you've done a ton of other ones, other places. When you think about a couple of favorite roles you've done, which ones come to mind?
Gosh, I think so much about the whole experience makes something particularly fun or profound or memorable for me. I think so much about the people that you get to collaborate with, and sometimes even the location of where you get to work. For example, I did a contract at Hong Kong Disneyland in a show called The Golden Mickeys, and I played Belle. And the show wasn't particularly artistically fulfilling. It was fun, but it wasn't necessarily a challenge in terms of the craft. But getting to work and live in Hong Kong was life-changing. And getting to experience a different culture and a different artistic scene was really fantastic. And I think that mostly that's been the takeaway in a lot of different experiences, is the places that I get to go and the people that I get to meet. I think that so much about what I love about theater is the community. It's almost equivalent to my passion for the craft itself, is the people that I get to work with. And a lot of the shows at North Coast Rep have been some of my very favorite because of the people that I've gotten to work with.
Well, I always say it's my favorite thing is the family you collect.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I've actually only known you, about 4 or 5 years now. Is that right? Is that when I first met you?
Yeah.
But it feels like you're part of my family now.
Yeah, I agree. And the same with all the people that I've met at North Coast Rep, particularly, of getting to spend evenings after the shows just talking in the cafe and really getting to know everybody and sharing all these inside jokes. And I talk to people that I've worked with at North Coast Rep even just yesterday. So I think that that's the most special part about any show is the lifelong friendships that you get to make.
So are there any bucket list parts you have? Are there things that you really want to do?
Gosh, yes, there are a number of them. I think I'm also a person who gets really excited about the projects that I'm currently working on. I really like research and really delving into any particular job that I'm approaching, or text I'm approaching. And so I think that I really am a person that is invested in the present moment, for whatever job that I have. But I think there are a couple that have sort of slipped away. One, I really would like to play April in Company, is a role that I've wanted to play for quite some time, that I almost got to play once and then the theater actually closed. I'm not going to say it was on account of me, but no, I'm kidding. But I got really close in playing that. I love the show Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. Gosh, I would love to do Barefoot in the Park, actually, is
Interesting.
a dream role.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a number of them. I'm sure that the list will continue to grow.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned directing, and you've kind of been branching out a little bit. I know you were assistant directing at the Globe on a couple of things, and then you've been directing at San Diego Musical Theater. You want to talk about the transition and the attraction of directing, and the difference in the not only the required skill, but also in the satisfaction from acting to directing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for about the first 10 years of my professional career, I was an actor exclusively. And I love it. I really do. I love performing. I love everything about that. But I still felt somewhat unfulfilled in a way, that even at times when I was working, I wanted more in some capacity. And I think that around 27 or 28 is when I really started to delve into alternatives, of exploring what else was a possibility. And so I started with a number of different internships. I did an internship at Signature Theater in New York in production management, of all things. And then I did an internship at North Coast Rep in casting, and then started working in marketing a little bit, and thought more about teaching. And I was exploring a lot of different avenues. And for whatever reason, I had not entirely considered directing as a possibility. And the moment that I did, it just seemed to click. It seems to fulfill a lot of interest that I have within the theater and also outside of it. I'm very interested in social dynamics and psychology. I'm very interested in the way that groups interact together. I love doing research. I really love reading and writing and analyzing texts. I have considered dramaturgy a number of times as a route to pursue. And I love being a part of the larger collaborative creative process. And I think the minute that I started, and I'm very, very super fortunate to have had mentors who were willing to take me on as an assistant. Larry Rabin and James Vasquez have been two that I've worked with on a number of projects. And Larry was the first one who gave me the opportunity to do A Christmas Carol at the Welk, and he had a conflict with his Grinch schedule at the Globe. He regularly does Grinch at the Globe, and so he needed someone to cover him for the last 2 weeks of rehearsal that was going into the opening night. And I had not been involved in the production from the casting point. I was not there for the first couple days, and I came into it, and I think I had maybe 3 days with him in the room, and then he was going to be gone at Grinch. I was not even entirely familiar with I knew the story, of course, but I didn't know all of the music as well as I should. And I was cramming it in those couple days of trying to learn exactly what this is and break down the text and try to analyze the script in time so I would know what I was doing, even vaguely. And he left. Then I remember I was sitting there on that day where it was just me, and your heart's pounding, and I'm looking around the room and I'm realizing I'm the one that has to do something here. It's me. I am the one in charge of this now. And this show is about to open, and I am the only one who's responsible here. And I just clicked into gear, and it was terrifying but thrilling. I was thrown into the deep end in a pretty big way. And by the end of it, I think I was exhausted, but I also thought, I love this. And I think I can do this. And from there, I just continued to pursue different opportunities.
Of course, the show didn't open and the theater closed, but other than that, it was a big
It
success, right?
follows me.
No,
It
no. So
follows me.
that's exciting. And following up on what you said, you know, so much of directing, I mean, the casting is really important, but
Yeah.
so much of directing has to do with psychology, because the best direction in the world is worthless if the actor doesn't hear it or take it, right?
Yeah.
No matter
Yeah.
how good a director you are, if you can't get the actors to get on the same page with you and do what you're suggesting, or take it seriously or inspire them to do better than what you're suggesting,
Yeah.
it's kind of doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. Understanding how different people learn, I think, has been fascinating.
So you've directed for San Diego Musical Theater, and I think once we come out of COVID, you have some other things that are supposed to happen, right?
Right. Well, so I directed at San Diego Musical Theater for their youth production of Freaky Friday. I co-directed with Katie Banville, and I will be as when we come out of this, I will be directing their main stage production of Catch Me If You Can. We've actually already cast it and did a lot of the initial pre-production, and it would have been set to open in spring of 2020. Now we're looking, hopefully, optimistically, at spring of 2021, but we'll see. So,
Right.
but that's in the works. Yeah.
So as a person who makes their living in show business,
Mm-hmm.
and as show business has been essentially shut down for more than 6 months now, or we're 6 months now, what's your outlook? How have you stayed positive? And probably there's been times you haven't been so positive,
Oh
but
yeah.
how have you kept overall your outlook looking forward, and what have you done to make it so that you're okay about it? And what's your thoughts about how we come out of it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that we're all asking ourselves the same one. Yes, to be clear, there have been plenty of times where I've felt anything but optimistic, and having so much shift in such a short amount of time has been a challenge to adjust to. I think that what I've been trying to focus on is what could come out of this and what positive forces could be at work here in restructuring our business as the theater on the whole, but then and also how can I better myself as a performer or a director. I've taken a lot of time to do a lot of research about the New York City, specifically theater scene, and other directors whose careers I would like to emulate. I've taken a lot of time to be reading more plays, learning more about different playwrights that I'm interested in, learning more about who I am as an artist and what kind of work excites me, what interests me. So I think for me, it's looked like a lot of research and introspection and reflection on maybe what I've done so far and the type of work that I would like to be doing when we come out of this. I think that change is a scary thing a lot of the time, and I think it can feel really overwhelming and daunting, and that's fair and legitimate. But I think that there's also a great possibility for a positive shift with such a dramatic change that we've been encountering. So even though it is difficult, I'm hoping that we might be able to come out of this better. It might take time, but
So
I'm
in
hopeful.
what ways will it be positive or better? I want to know, because I keep saying we want to get back to doing things like we used to do them as much as we can, but it's
Yeah.
going to be different in some ways. How
Mhm.
do you see it being positive or better?
Yeah, I think that obviously financially, theaters are taking a big hit, and particularly theaters who focus on more commercial success like Broadway. And I think that in the most idealistic version, I'm hoping that perhaps there might be a greater shift towards encouraging and fostering new work that might not ordinarily be able to make it to a Broadway stage, or work that maybe doesn't have the $1 billion budget, but is still worthwhile and relevant, or interesting. I'm hoping that there may be a little less emphasis on commercial theater, at commercial Broadway theater, as the only theater that is legitimate or worthwhile, and perhaps a shift to including maybe regional companies or smaller shows or smaller theaters as maybe amplifying those places too. I read an article about people who were living, they were performers who were living in New York who had, I guess, successful Broadway careers, and they ended up having to move back to one of their in-laws' place in somewhere, I want to say like Wisconsin or something like that. And they were talking about the potential of what if there were little Broadways all around the United States? What if there were shows that could maybe be comparable to a Broadway level, but they weren't all in New York City? I think there's a lot of things that excite me like that.
Okay. Are you going to make one? I'll come. I'll come because
A little Broadway
a little Broadway
at North Coast Rep.
Well, we need a new venue to be a little Broadway. We're a different kind of theater, I think, than that at this point. But
I don't know. I don't know exactly what it's all going to look like. I think in a way that it's too early to tell. I'm not even sure exactly in what audiences are going to want to see as soon as we come out of this. Are they going to gravitate towards theater that just is joyful and happy and bubbly and light, or are they going to really want to work through some of the traumas with something that's reflective of that? And I think that remains to be determined as well.
Right. Well, I always said, when you were here doing an internship or whenever you've done a show here, it's a happier place when Noelle is here, and and a little of the light goes away when you're not here. So I hope we get to do it again soon.
Oh, me too. Thank you.
I'm going to have you back a lot and often. So
I got to get more pictures in the cafe.
We got to put more pictures up in the cafe. Yeah. That you're referring to the fact we have pictures from our shows all over the place, but there's one little wall where somehow it happened that I think 3 of the 5 pictures you're in.
Yeah.
Kind of funny, especially since you said you've only done, is it 4 or 5?
4.
4. That's all you've done. It seems like you've done 10.
Well, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
You mean, do we miss you, or did you leave a stain?
Yeah. Overexposed.
Well, I'll say we miss you. How's that? And I'll speak for everybody here.
Well, the feeling is mutual.
Well, thank you. Stay healthy, and thank you for talking to me today and letting North Coast audience know you a little better off stage, because they know how much fun you are on stage.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.